How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 3, Episode 15, and this one's entitled My Own Place. This is from February 8th, 1987, and is directed by series regular Ted Gershuny. The episode stars Perry Lang, Harsh Nayyar, and Nancy Travis. The episode was written by Ted Gershuny and Perry Lang, so the top-billed actor and the director wrote this episode, so that's kind of interesting. If you guys are following along on this DVD set, this is the first episode of Disc 3, but also, quite interestingly, the episode description on the DVD is totally off. It's describing some other story that takes place in an apartment, but I have no idea where that description came from. What this episode is really about, this guy gets his own apartment and he has his own place for the first time in his life, but whenever he's alone, an Indian man named Ram appears and won't leave the apartment no matter what he says. And I guess I should say right off the bat, I can tell that this episode means well. I mean, the idea that, there are other parts of the world where people aren't doing as good. We should be thankful for what we have, and we should acknowledge that, we do have benefits from where and when we're born. And I get that. I get saying, don't take the good things you have for granted. But all that being said, this episode is kind of a mess as far as what it's trying to say tonally. It's super confusing, like, what the rules are and what Ram really wants and what they're trying to say. And as far as, like, the message, what is going on here? Because the guy that Ram is, in his apartment, the guy that was renting the apartment is just a guy that works at the bank. He makes it clear at the very beginning he doesn't own the bank, he works at the bank, and he's just a guy. He's not super rich and he's not really super evil, and yet the episode's choosing to punish him. And it's not just Ram popping up, the episode does get dark towards the end, and I'm like, why are we punishing this guy? He's just a guy that works at the bank, and it feels super weird that this episode's going, hey, you random guy that works at the bank, why is there social inequality? Why is there no world peace, you guy that works at the bank? And it's like, yeah, the stuff that you're saying sucks, totally does suck, but I really don't get the victim in the story. Why are we... It would make sense if the story was about a big businessman and maybe he actually owned the bank and he personally made some decision that screwed over India. I could get that. But it's not, and it's just about some guy, and I really don't get why we're punishing him. I guess, to describe it further, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the story. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to break it down and analyze it, so I'll go over the story a little bit. Anyway, without further ado, the plot. We open up with our main character biking through New York City, and I really realized, I'm like, whoa, hey, Darkside's going outside. We don't usually go outside in Tales from the Darkside. So he gets to this apartment, and he's going to talk to the landlord, who is this Indian woman, and she shows him around, and there's like a big hole in the window, and she says, oh, don't worry, we're going to be fixing that. But other than that, the place is really big, and he said he used to share an apartment like the size of a closet with 3 other guys, and that to get this place that even you can see a little bit of Central Park, it's really good, and it's only $285 a month. I guess, though, this guy never saw the other episode, A New Lease on Life. That guy only had to pay $200 a month. It was a much better view And really, in that episode, you just had to throw your leftovers away in the right place, and you had a really good deal there. But in real life, this is a steal. So, of course, he takes it, and he invites his girl over, and it's this really nice scene where, you know, it's like a big, sparse, empty apartment, nothing on the walls, and he doesn't have his bed yet, he just has his comforter on the ground. And it's like, okay, I don't have much now, but I'm starting my life. I have my own place. I have you here with me, and I'm going to make things work, you know? And overall, you really do feel for this guy. You know, he says that, like, he has this line about how he works at the bank, but he doesn't own the bank when he's talking about the prices. He's just some dude that works at the bank that doesn't have a great paying job, but he's starting to start his life out. I mean, this is what a lot of us want. I mean, especially us captive millennials right now that are struggling with eggs costing like $20. I would love to have is something like this, and you really relate to the guy, which, since we're about to be punishing him in a minute, it does get to be kind of a problem. He wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's a guy in his apartment that he doesn't know. And to be fair, he talks to this guy. And I really do want to say, you know, even though some of the things he would say later are going to be quite mean, and he does make some references that are culturally insensitive, he doesn't just, like, I feel like most people, if you see a strange man in the house in the middle of the night that you don't know and isn't supposed to be there, you'd probably just yell at the guy and get out your baseball bat and just beat him over the head. But this guy doesn't, and he talks to him, and he says he's Ram, he's from India, and he says there were just so many people in India, his soul was squeezed out and it popped down in New York. You think it'd be like somewhere in Kansas if we're talking about population density, but whatever. That's about all we get a little bit of like flashes to what might be his backstory, but as far as an explanation, that's about all we get. So he's there, and the next morning when he brings the landlord back, he's gone. And I do want to say, next morning, he waits till the morning? Like, he didn't just kick this guy out? In real life, this situation wouldn't last more than an hour. You're not gonna wake up in the middle of the night and say, there's a stranger in my apartment, and then just let the situation sit until morning. There's so much in this episode that is just forcing the situation to not reach its crisis point so that the episode can happen. You know, like they say, he doesn't want to physically remove Ram. And I think the idea is it's something about the magic that puts him there that's preventing him from just physically removing him. Because, you know, you think at the very least you just, because he's not the biggest guy, you could grab him up under the shoulders, put him outside and close the door. But he just doesn't do that. And, you know, it's probably magic, but it unintentionally makes him look like a kinder, more sympathetic guy for not doing this. Yeah, he does say some stuff he shouldn't, but it's an intruder and he doesn't kick him out. And we get the idea that whenever other people pop up, he disappears. And you think maybe it might be all in his head, but then Ram cooks food that he wouldn't know how to make, and the girlfriend eats it, so I guess he really is there. But you don't really get the rules, you know? Like, they didn't really think out, like, what are the problems and how would you do it, you know? Like, you know, someone comes over, what if he was just in the middle of a room? Would he disappear? There's also a super confusing scene later on where he steps outside of the apartment, but first he tricks him and he locks him up in a room and then steps out, and then when he comes back, he just opens up the room again. Why did you trap him somewhere if you weren't going to get rid of him? You trapped him somewhere to keep him in your house, and then you just let him back out when you get home. Your problem was that he wouldn't leave your house. So how is your solution trapping him in your house? Yeah, I don't get it. But when you get to the end of this episode, there is some, like, flashing backstory stuff. It almost feels a little bit Jacob's Ladder-y. And we do get a really dark ending, again, for a character that doesn't really deserve it. And that's just, yeah, there's that. There's also the fact that this episode seems super aimless. You know, he doesn't have any really plan to get rid of Rom, especially because I guess the magic's keeping him from doing it. But it seems like the whole episode is, you shouldn't be here, you should go. Well, I'm not going to. And then you got about 20 minutes of that. And yeah, so it's like I said, I get the message. Other people have it worse off. Be grateful for what you have. But to just take some random guy at the bank and make him responsible for all the world's problems and then give him a super dark ending for no reason, you really feel bad for this guy. And I almost want to do like an anthology parody of just, you know, people that had nothing to do with anything and then them just getting punished for, like, you know, bad things in the world. I'm gonna drown you because people you didn't know 3 states over died in a flood. Ha ha ha. You know, it makes very little sense, and you don't really feel like the main guy ever has a constant plan, and it's just the one gimmick getting stretched out the whole time. Yeah, not really a fan of this. Like I said, if you just made him more evil, if you made him the cause of something bad going on in India, I could get it. And maybe if you made this episode more funny, because the idea of a character that just won't go away, I mean, that's kind of a funny concept, but as it stands, it's just clouded and messy and doesn't really work. And that's about all I have to say. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist, where you can find my reviews for all the past episodes, as well as a Season 1 and 2 overview. I also covered the Joe Hill comic and the Clive Barker story a little early. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Darkside playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.